Hola, ¿cómo están, mis compañeros? Right here, we're on the Lancet's webpage, and they just released this report, I think today, and it has to do with a woman who supposedly had SARS-CoV-2. Her husband went to the hospital, he died of it. She had it. 3 months later, she had gotten over it, but 3 months later, she had a stroke. So her lungs had previously had SARS, and they decided to donate her SARS lungs to a healthy person, which is okay. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Everything worked out. Everything worked out well. The most important thing about this whole entire paper is the fact that it proves that PCR analysis is totally bogus. You can go through this and you can read about the general gist of what is going on, but I'm gonna skip to one part right here, and that's all the way here at the bottom where it talks about, oh, here we are. The donor lungs were accepted after the multidisciplinary agreement and according to the International Society of Heart and Lung Transplant guidelines on COVID-19. Following our national legislation, the recipient consists before listing to allow physicians to accept or decline an organ, ex vivo lung. Oh yeah, this is very scary. No specific consent is required for extended criteria. Donors included those with previous COVID-19. The liver was allocated for high urgency transportation elsewhere. Ventilators switched off, resulted in circulatory arrest 23 minutes later. So this woman's lying on the table and they switched her ventilator off and she's dying. You know, her brain is dying, and then 23 minutes later they attest to circular arrest, and then 5 minutes after the circular arrest they cut into her and tear her lungs out. I'm just saying. But the only thing I wanted to point out is the fact that it says the right at the very bottom, right next to figure 2B, it says the right lung biopsy sampled had low levels of PCR amplified SARS-CoV-2 RNA, but a negative viral culture. So these are the lungs that they actually put into this healthy person. They're saying in this medical report that the lungs, right as they were transferring them, they cut her open and were able to biopsy her lung. They said, oh, this lung biopsy shows SARS-CoV RNA. And coronavirus RNA is ubiquitous. You're going to find coronavirus RNA in anybody if you amplify it enough times. And so what this proves, they then went on to try to culture the SARS, and the culture was negative. And it proves that this PCR analysis is bogus, comparable to actual culture. They went on to say that they used the Abbott, but serology, they did a serology test on her. They did nasopharyngeal, it was negative. Serology showed positive SARS-CoV-2 antibodies. That means that she had been exposed to it. That's the test I think that the president does, the Abbott one, where it's like one little machine and you put it in and it shows whether you have any antibody development against coronavirus. The thing about PCR is it tests for RNA identifiers, and it's whatever they want to identify, that's what they identify, and if they want to identify it, they're going to identify it. This right here though is absolute 100% proof that these PCR analysis, you can't really see it right here, but it says on negative one day, that's the day right before the surgery. Then day 0, the nasopharyngeal swab, PCR test, negative arterial blood gas. And then it goes down to say the biopsy lung, periclemia, right upper and lower left lung, no inflammation, no lung fibrosis, but SARS-CoV-2 PCR positive, right upper lobe with a cycle threshold of 35, SARS-CoV-2 viral culture negative. They say that they tested positive for one and negative, and that PCR test is garbage. Please, please, please point your friends towards the Lancet.